I use a Vedic chart. So in this chart, the full moon is falling in the 8th house, and the three main features of it are secrets, delusion, and aggression. So secrets, hidden things coming to light. Usually this has to do with power that we have in a situation or don't have in a situation, and it's now coming to our attention. It also has to do with sudden gains and losses, which can come in the form of reversals. So watch for things reversing in the next couple weeks. The next part, delusion. This can happen in different ways. Sometimes others feed us information and can delude us, or we can delude ourselves by not wanting to face the reality of what's in front of us. Sometimes all of the evidence stacks up, and the way that we feel about a certain situation, about a certain person, about a certain political party, about whatever it happens to be, it blinds us to the reality of what the data looks like. The third element is aggression. And this really has to do with truth coming out and surprises, those secrets coming, but things that we didn't expect. And things that we didn't expect to hit us in a certain way. And things that we didn't expect to feel a certain way about. Aggression does different things to us. Secrets do different things to us. You may be feeling physically exhausted. You may be a little bit sick. You may be feeling very wired. You may be feeling you want to yell at somebody and you don't know why. You want to cry and you don't know why. But secrets, aggression, deception, these have physiological effects on the body and they have effects on the mind. So if you're feeling a little bit weird or if the people around you are acting a little bit weird, this is part of the transit. In this first part of the eclipse season, we're paying attention to two things. The first is where Jupiter is trying to expand your life. And the second is where the full moon eclipse is illuminating what needs to change. The strongest element of this chart is Earth. Specifically, it is Saturn. Now, Saturn is in Gemini, and here's the difference between them. Gemini is quick thinking and talking. It's media, it's marketing, it's politics, it's talking. Whether or not it's based in fact, whether or not it's based in reality, it's just talking. And the world we build through talking. Versus Saturn, which is completely the opposite. Saturn is solid, it's structure, and it's what we build over time. So that's the tension of the chart, that we are caught between the talking, and the worlds that we are building in our heads. And as a result of that, what does our outer world look like over time? What are we building? What is our legacy? The energy of Rohini Nakshatra is that of imagination and wonder. It also has to do with the mouth. So eating, consuming, talking. But the way that we consume information, we consume numbers, we consume marketing, we consume political propaganda, we consume so much, and we build from it this wonderland. The nakshatra is, some of the natives are Vincent Price, or Tim Burton, Lewis Carroll. So everything having to do with imagination, Wonderland, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, these fantastic places that are built, and they're built for our enjoyment. You can think anything, you can say anything, and it becomes less and less grounded. The more you build it up, it becomes less and less grounded. There's often this question about what's that line between creative genius and insanity? This nakshatra deals with that exact question, because it has to do with Rahu, which is intoxication. So being intoxicated with all of these words and ideas and numbers, but not being grounded. And it's also ruled by the moon, which has to do with lunacy. So you consume more and more and more, and the fantasy world grows and grows and grows and becomes less and less grounded. That results in aggression, that results in delusion, and that results in basically something that you've made up, because it's something that has to do with numbers and it has to do with words, but it doesn't have to do with experience. So for example, when you are repeating a news story over and over and over, and then there's a person who says, I was here, I was on the ground, I saw this happen, but that's not what the news wants to report. There's a disparity. This is the area where we are now. This is the Gemini versus the Saturn. This is the talking versus this is solid, and this is what we're building on. So in this first 2 weeks of the eclipse season, the full moon is shedding light on some area of our life that we need to get really real about. And whatever we see, it's time to believe it. Aries, this full moon is taking place in your seventh house. Your seventh house is committed partnerships. This can be your spouse, business partnerships, or people you associate with in a committed way. Have a look right now at if there's any kind of deception that's going on, anything that you are unclear about, and how really solid those relationships are. Do you feel good in them? Are they making you the person that you want to be? Are they healthy relationships? Are they productive relationships? Maybe you have wanted to ignore something for a while, and this lunar eclipse will bring to light something that you really haven't wanted to face, but now it just gets put at you and there's no way to ignore it anymore. Don't ignore it if this happens, because where Jupiter is trying to expand you is in your 10th house of public reputation and career. So if it is a spouse or if it is a business partnership, 7th house is also the house of open enemies. Whatever you see, pay attention to, because you'll need to clear that up. In order to expand in a more public sense, you need to get clean and get right with what's close to you. And that is what the full moon and lunar eclipse are asking you to do just now. You may get a new boss, a new job opportunity, you may get more public recognition, you could work for a new company, you could get a promotion. But keep in mind, the higher you raise, your business partnerships and your marital partnerships and the people who are close to you, who you depend on, have to be very solid relationships. So pay attention to what's going on. This is the last of the naive moments where we can delude ourselves that the world we made up with our mouth, with our thoughts that are grounded in nothing, because it was fun to be there, because it was enjoyable to be there, that is not a world that lasts. This is also the last of the time where we can delude ourselves that what our physical effort is the exact result of what the tangible result will be. The effort that we put in isn't necessarily what it looks like at the end. It's time to anchor ourselves back into reality and back into our experience and stop making things up in our head and come back to what is real. So not what people say they do, but what they actually do. Not what your company says it does, but what it actually does. Not what your friends profess to be, but who they actually are. Not who you tell yourself you are, but who you are really. Not who your family pretends to be to the outside, but who are you when you're behind closed doors. Oprah Winfrey had this quote about when people tell you who they are, believe them. And that is what this nakshatra is asking us to do, if it's on a personal level or if it is on a collective level. The final thought of the video is the axis of the 2nd house and the 8th house. So for this particular eclipse, the last time it happened was in 2002. So think back to 2002. That's when collectively information about 9/11 began to surface. Think back to yourself also, what happened in 2002. That was a time I had a very profound experience where I actually watched myself pace a room and became aware that I could be the person who was pacing the room, having this conversation with somebody who was belittling me. That's what my life could be. Or I could be this person who recognized that this is not who I want, but that I could not be them both. This is such a moment where we need to look at the reality for what it is. Not what we want it to be, but what it is. And then decide who we want to be moving forward and what it is that we want to build.